Very good. Today is March 28, 2023. This is a City Council study session. It's 2:06. Roll call, please.
Mayor Good,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Montoya,
Here.
Councilwoman Cantelmi,
Here.
Councilman Moore,
Here.
Councilmember Rusing,
Here.
Councilman Sischka,
Here.
and Councilman Tenney.
Yes.
All are present.
Very good. City Clerk, you want to read our topic for this study session?
Yes, Mayor. Presentation and discussion from Prescott Frontier Days Rodeo regarding the Rodeo Grounds Master Plan.
Very good. Please proceed.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and council members, thanks for having us here today. I'm Ron
Can-
Owsley. I'm the president of the Prescott Frontier Days Board of
Sir,
Directors.
you got to
Need
speak
to
into
speak
the
into the
microphone.
microphone so we can record your remarks.
How's that?
I think that's good.
All right. Mr. Mayor and council members, thanks for having us. I'm Ron Owsley. I'm the president of the Board of Directors for Prescott Frontier Days. Jim Dewey Brown's our general manager. In the audience, we have the director, Rex Henshaw, our vice president, Logan Franks. Thanks for allowing us to share this master plan with you. We've been working on it for about 15 months. We're pretty excited about it. It's our vision to put Prescott even bigger on the map than we already are. I mean, we're world famous now, but what we designed is a world-class facility to go with that world's oldest rodeo and Prescott title. It's big, it's ambitious, and the really good news is we're not here to ask you for any money. We're chasing private sources for the money, and we've got a good line on a lot of that. Jim's gonna give you a brief overview of the last year's rodeo. Back in next month, we'll be back to give you an overview of what's gonna happen this year too. But a lot of numbers have been changing real fast. We're growing faster than the facility that we're in will handle. We're going to show you the economic impact of what the rodeo's been doing and what we projected to do. Some of those numbers are pretty impressive. And then Jim's going to walk you through up on the screen all these new improvements. And I'll do my Van thing back here in case there's anything you don't understand. I'll point it out. And then we're also going to kind of tell you all the stakeholders that we involved in this. So it wasn't just us sitting over there in a vacuum. We tried to involve everybody. There's one slide we'll put up. A name that's not on there is Ian Mattingly, but he was very involved in helping us work on the traffic and understanding those kind of things, which be impacted. We're also going to have Joe come up toward the end and kind of give us his perspective. He's been involved and knows what we're doing, and he's a liaison on our board of directors. And then we'll take questions and see how everybody feels about it. So, Jim, you want to take it away?
Thank you, Ron.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having us. I just want to give you a quick overview of where to go. 2022. There it is. It's down button, FYI. So 2022. You guys saw it last year. We kind of did a drastic overhaul of our chutes and pins. We got a new Preferred Arena. Got that set up just in time for the rodeo. We had a record number of our contestants, 697, and these are the PRCA and WPRA card holders, attended the 135th edition of the world's oldest rodeo. That doesn't include the 36 Mutton Busters that we had, which was, by the way, a new event that we added. That doesn't include the wild horse race teams that we had. That doesn't include the Cowpuncher Broncs. So well over 750 contestants enjoyed this, came to Prescott and competed. Our sponsor support was unprecedented. We had over 120 local and national sponsors, gave their time, their money, their expertise. for the 135th. Cool thing, sold out all 8 performances. There was 3 performances that we sold only 100 standing room onlys. The other 5 we sold 200 standing room onlys. So it was pretty cool there. Payout, because of the sponsor support, we were able to pay out over $330,000 to the cowboys and cowgirls competing at the rodeo. Give you our 2021 economic impact. So for 2021, over 81,000 folks attended events that we had at the rodeo grounds. That came out to 12.9 million in total labor income, 33.5 million in economic activity, 2.6 million in state, county, and city tax revenues. Now on the slide, you guys can see the X number percentage. We didn't have that whenever I had to turn it into Sarah. 2021, I'll give you 2019 numbers first. 2019, and this was before I got here. I started in 2021. There was 29 events, parties, meetings, that kind of thing held at the grounds. In 2021, we had 39, which was a 34% increase. In 2022, we had 62 events, so 114% increase, which we'll get to that. Obviously, we don't count 2020 for reasons. So there's your 2022 economic impact. 90,500 attendees, 14.3 in labor income, 37 in economic activity, 2.9 in tax revenues, and then like I said, 62 events and 114% increase. So we're utilizing the space. We're trying to make it where there's more folks coming to town, spending money, and enjoying the facility. So our purpose, we want to expand, we want to attract higher quality events, more events, open the facility for the community, and then create a facility that accommodates conventions, trade shows, meetings, festivals, and that includes both indoor, outdoor, public, and private. 3 major elements that we did, like Ron said, we had quite a few stakeholders. Several of them are in this room. And then we plan on having, so number 3, we plan on having 2 public open house sessions for the community. Again, like Ronnie said, this is not a funding request. We're not seeking you guys' money or the city's money. We're just seeking support of this master plan. Here's our stakeholders. Prefert Complex Designs and Michael Taylor Architects, Norris Designs, and the Project Cost Resources, along with PFD, went through this plan and went through the painstaking process of, figuring out what works best for everybody on both sides of that first column. Obviously, we had the city involved, tourism involved. One of our biggest events, Equifest, Legacy Horse Ranch Sale, the Buckle Club, Chamber of Commerce, and then another one of our major events is the fair. So those folks are all there. I can leave it up for a little bit if you want. Okay, so there's the big dream. Ronnie's got it there. As you can see, there's the entrance changes where we come in with the fans off of Gail Gardner. Right above that is the what are we calling that thing? Yeah, Conference Center and Community Pavilion. Let me get to that page.
Right now, the entrance is right here on this curve, so we've moved it up here to a much more user-friendly location. It's coming right into the conference center, 16,000 square foot building. public use and our use.
And Ronnie's going to tell you the numbers that building, it will house a gift shop, museum, kitchenette. But the cool thing about it is in the back side of it, closer to the arena, is, and we'll get to that slide here in a little bit, but the chairs, the seating, 800 and
840 in table setting, straight 8-foot tables. They'll hold 544 round tables. So you can have banquets, concerts, all kinds of meetings. Should compete really well with the place over there on the hill.
Ronnie, I'm sorry. You have to talk into the microphone, otherwise people that are watching at home are not going to be able to hear you, okay? That's really important. Thanks.
All right. The conference center and pavilion, 16,000 square foot building. It'll seat 840 in the flat table settings, and in round tables, it'll hold 544. So it'll be a really great use for so many things, from weddings to conferences, parties, banquets, you name it. Okay.
And it looks like we've got that very same picture on page
Yes.
7 of the materials that you provided to us. If
Yes.
anybody wants to see it close up.
Yeah.
So going back to what Logan's holding there, there's another large structure. That is the covered arena. And when I say it's a covered arena, it's not just an arena. That can be used for anything. You know, we can take the panels out, the chutes out, the stalls out, whatever needs to be out to do whatever other type of events we need to have. So other conferences, more not so fair weather events that need to be under cover, out of the rain, the snow.
Trade
Especially-
shows, car
Yeah.
shows, things like that.
Farmers market was another one. Yep.
It's a 79,000 square foot building.
It is very large. So then, if you look at the arena, you'll notice the arena changes. What happens is basically we take seating all the way around it. There'll be some suite type seating and covered seating on the north side.
Across from the existing grandstand, there'd be another grandstand, hold about 1,400 people.
And on the west side, there's what the original plans were, which are in the back of y'all's book, is the bathroom plans that we initially started, in 2021? So,
Yeah, there'd be a new 54 stall restroom, which if you've been over there, you know that that's about 54 more than we have now. Actually, the existing restrooms in the Mackin building, which are the only, year-round restrooms we have, they're 22% of what the current grandstand needs. So that restroom was designed just to handle the rest of the grandstand. So we will be adding additional restrooms as this project goes on.
So I'm going to give you another look. This is looking towards Granite Mountain. You can really see the covered arena area. The other thing that you notice is that, and most everybody in here will know, we have to flip the timed event side from the west to the east. The spectators parking flips from kind of the northeast to the west. Everything has to flip. We also bring the arena closer to the grandstands, to the original grandstands, about 30 feet closer, to get the action closer to that side of the arena. Does that make sense? There's the convention pavilion. You can see the seating, 800 seatings, 500 round tables, or I think it was a 50-something vendor spaces, like 10 by 10s. And of course, at the front, you got your gift shop, museum, and then the bathrooms, more bathrooms. Here's another slide. This one is what the Buckle Club concept is. This is another venue type for smaller parties, smaller events, smaller get-togethers that you could have overlooking the arena.
So it's 7,500 square foot building. It's got windows across the face of it, so you can see all the action that's going on in the arena. And it'll seat 216 at round tables, so it's another facility for use that the public can use from time to time.
So will that be enclosed?
It is.
So they'll be viewing
got-
the
it has a-
activity in the arena through the windows?
Or out in the front, you can see the little four tops. That's kind of out like on a patio type deal, overlooking, and it
So the arena is up at the top.
Yes.
arenas. Yeah,
Yeah. The blue spaces, the restrooms, and the kitchen are in the back, and then so if you have those,
So they can either view activity in the arena from the outside or
And
from
it-
the
and it's
inside through
elevated.
the windows.
so they have a great view looking out to the west.
So if you can picture the timed event shoots as they currently are, basically the building would be directly above it. They would be coming out directly underneath
Right.
and then like the wagon and the specialty acts and the contestants coming in through that center out gate, it'd be right under that building, if that makes sense. Here's the covered arena. As you see, we have it. It's the same size arena as our outdoor. And there's several different things you can do. We can add the stalls. We can do a full size arena, or we can shorten it down to a warm up, or we can take it all out and roll the dirt and have basically concrete floor, semi-concrete. And it has more restrooms, showers, that kind of thing. Kitchenette. There is a second floor on that one with another rentable or usable space for smaller meetings, smaller events. There's the main arena. You can see all the little red lines. That's all new seating, grandstand seating all the way around. The squares up at the top, the center square, can't really point it to you. It's got the green kind of, that's where the announcer would be. And then the two on either side would be kind of your executive suite, that kind of thing. Major sponsors. And then of course seating all the way around. And then the blue square, I guess would be on y'all's left. That's the restroom.
So the chutes there are just the small squares on each side of that main.
Yes. Yeah,
announcing area.
that would be your buck and shoots. And like I said, we'd have to shift everything closer to the existing grandstands. You guys are familiar with, there's the kind of that pavement path in front, and then we've got the little three bleacher deals. We would get rid of that stuff, put in a different set of, or kind of another level of box seating, but the arena would be right up closer to it.
That big long white strip is the grandstand, the existing grandstand, and then those red lines going across real close to the grandstand. That's the new box seating, 2 rows of box seats right there. So there'll be a lot more premium seats when we get
Councilman
this
Tenney?
done.
Did I understand you correctly that the arena itself would move 30 feet closer to the grandstands?
to the old grandstands.
Relative to where it is now?
So getting close, that was one of the things that we talked about when we started designing this was bring it back to what it was originally, because the wall where the grandstands start now was in the arena way back. And then of course, the wall on the other side and the paddocks and everything. We were trying to go for that look and bring that historic piece back.
Great.
Bathrooms.
That's the new 2-story, 54 stall restroom. That's designed. It's been through one round at the city already, so it's not that far off. When we are financially ready, we can get that one under construction in a pretty near future.
So we have a tentative phasing plan, obviously very, very tentative. We think the most important thing to start is the convention center pavilion. With that, the community, there's a need for it in this community, and we think that that's most important. Obviously, the bathrooms, phase one, our current wood seating in the old grandstands, that needs to be addressed ASAP. Are you laughing?
We have some agreement.
So I kind of have it as 1.5. When we do the pavilion, we'll also need to, between the pavilion and then phase two, we'll need to flip the arenas. We'll need to take the destroy barn B, put up the new equipment barn for our vehicles, our tractors, all of our heavy equipment, tool shed, that kind of thing. So that's kind of, I could say it's in between, but kind of at the same time as phase one and phase two. Phase two, new grandstand, so the north side, the Justin room, which is, you guys might know it as the old jockey room. That's in dire need of updating to current medical standards. The east restrooms, so we would be, I think this was under the grandstand where like section A and B are, we would do a kind of a retrofit of some new bathrooms there as well, and then of course the Buckle Club, and then lastly is the big project, the covered arena. Got anything else? So there's the project summary. You guys have that in your packet. You can see the very bottom. You can kind of see how it would need to be phased out, obviously, but the total price tag, little over $40 million. So our folks did our construction economic impact for this, create 511 temporary jobs, 27 million in wages, 74 million in activity, 2.8 million in state tax revenues, 1.7 million in city and county tax revenues. And I'm done.
Joe, you want to come up? Couple minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Ron, appreciate it. I just want to let everybody know I've been working as the liaison for the city on this master planning effort, and as Ron pointed out, it's been about a 15-month process. I think pretty thorough. The old joke is we have the oldest rodeo in the world, but we also have the world's oldest facilities. So really, some of these improvements will improve our city asset. It's a city-owned asset. So it brings a lot of value to the community, but it brings a lot of value to the city itself as well. I want to emphasize something that they pointed out in their presentation is that this isn't the end of it. As far as community outreach goes, there's going to be some open houses. We want to gather as much input from the community as we can so that we have the best plan moving forward. And really, that's about it, unless you have any questions for me. But I think it's been a good, thorough process.
Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I love it when people think big, and you've done that. It's wonderful. But I have a separate issue I'd like to raise and ask. As you know, in the southwest corner of the property, we have the composting facility. And I've met on site with Gabe and with other volunteers at the composting site, and we've talked about the possibility of maybe a community garden in that area right next to the compost site. Seems like a good central location in Prescott, between where the farmers market is now, Prescott College, we've had, the high school. I was wondering if there's any thought in the long-term plan and your master plan for what's going to happen to the composting project, and is there room for a community garden adjacent to the composting project?
I got this one, Ronnie. We actually met with the farmers market folks yesterday,
Okay.
And, it's obviously not in the
Right.
artist rendering.
Right.
But yes, that facility stays.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very nice. It's very well done. There's no reason to tear that down for this. I don't see any reason why the garden couldn't be anywhere near that as well.
I know
'cause
there's no
we're
immediate
not.
plans for community garden, but we had quite a bit of discussion a little over a year ago with somebody that wanted to do a community garden in our community. And I would just like to keep maybe that option open in the future. If we could set aside a little bit of land in that southwest corner adjacent to the compost place for a possibility of a future community garden.
That area is, I guess I wouldn't say underutilized. It's not really utilized, and the size of it wouldn't make that big of a difference for us in parking. And I really don't see any problem with that at all, actually.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. Can I ask one other quick question?
Sure.
What are you looking at? Because I couldn't tell from the diagram for your parking surface. I know I've been to the rodeo when it's rained a lot. It's monsoon season, and sometimes it just turns into a muddy mess.
So we started a little bit last year.
Yeah.
You guys noticed that we put in some millings where y'all park, I guess the fans park. If we can keep the kids from doing donuts on it, we'd be all right. But yeah, it would more than likely be some sort of surface like that where it's still porous and,
Okay.
we're not going to pave it is what I would say.
Thank you.
Well, I have a couple of questions. I know with this vast amount of improvement and development, your plans for being able to utilize this asset much more frequently for the generation of enough revenue to pay for it. That's important. But I know there's a lot of people that live around the rodeo that kind of put up for the a week or two with all that activity and the noise and the music and the sound and everything, and they just kind of say, it happens every year, and we kind of buckle down and deal with it. But with this vast improvement of facilities, I would expect you're going to be having a lot of activities there.
Well, so I can address the sound. In our current situation, we basically have to send it 300 feet across the arena to the folks. With this setup, we would be able to directionally basically point it all down from above them directly to them instead of trying to shoot it across the arena, which it, hits the grandstands and travels to Thumb Butte.
Right. And with the facilities surrounding the main arena, the sound kind of leaking outside of those areas probably would be reduced.
Yes, absolutely.
I know your pavilion is going to be totally enclosed, and you'll probably have music events and things like that there. Are you planning a good sound
I'm
dampening?
going to avoid concerts for as long as I can, if that's what you're asking. But yeah, it's everything will be able to be more directional and more fine-tuned and not as loud.
Are you planning insulation in that building?
That'd be a Ronnie question. I don't know what the plans look like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be insulated. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
And especially the wintertime, we can have a lot more events if we.
Well, I mean, just for temperature control, but I think for the neighbors, being able to control the leaking of music and noise and things like that is important to them.
And for our utility bill too. But
So that's something
the
you're
arena
planning.
now would be essentially three-sided too. Right now we're one-sided. So again, the noise is escaping at a much greater rate right now than it will be when we're three-sided and we're directing it down toward the arena.
In closing the arena area, are you planning to have ambulance access into the arena? Because
Yes, there's actually
occur, right?
there's actually two well, technically three, but two ways you would come in. So directly from the east or directly from the west. Obviously we'd have to open gates and that kind of thing, but you can kind of see it. I could run it back, but it's on the second bird's eye view. You can kind of see that side. there's a lot of parking back there. You can see the parking, and you kind of see on the edge. I'm looking at his.
Bless you.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, so you kind of see, and then go towards the arena. There you go, like that. That's where we'd be taking in our wagon, the fire truck for the openings and that kind of thing. Would be all through that east side.
Well, I know SIMPO is planning on developing the intersection there between Fair Street and Gale Gardner. So that is bound to have some impact on traffic control and events at the rodeo grounds.
Yeah, and so we've actually discussed how everything flows, and the city. What was his title?
Ian Matting.
Madeline,
Ian.
our traffic engineer.
He has a plan of how it'd be almost like a temporary light, or police stop go that kind of thing on that corner, but we would have a single access for contestants but multiple access for fans, and then directionally when we exit, not all at one spot. We can send them Fair, we can send them Gale, we can send them out Shimmer, that kind of thing.
Well, I know if they're traveling on Gale Gardner towards Gurley, and now you're closer to that intersection with the new entrance, then vehicles trying to turn left across traffic to get into the entrance could be quite a bit of a problem.
When Ian looked at it, there's room to do a turn bay there.
A center turn
Center
lane.
turn bay, which will make it a whole lot safer. Right now, it's dicey making that turn in from left. So, moving it up will help, and then the turn bay will resolve the safety issue almost completely, especially with that wider entrance. So,
Just turning across traffic, if you're having so many participants and attendees coming in, it could be a long wait for a break in traffic to make a left turn.
we don't.
Then you'd back up into the Fair Street intersection.
Yeah, we're not planning on bringing the contestants in that entrance. That's for the public.
Well, that was probably my two concerns, your noise control and traffic control, and obviously with a much enhanced facilities there, you're going to get a lot more attendance and a lot more frequent use.
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, I just want to point out that this is all preliminary. Of course, just like any project, it'll go through the proper channels, and police and fire, and everybody will take a look at it, traffic, and everybody will take a look at any of these plans to see how they impact the public and impact our infrastructure. So just wanted to point that out.
Well, I think it's a really great proposal. We've had really a huge amount of acreage there, primarily used for just a handful of events, and being able to generate a substantial amount of additional activity and tax revenue, and being able to take the world's oldest rodeo into the world's best rodeo.
Speaking of,
Pretty nice alignment.
make sure you guys vote. We have the USA Today top 10 rodeos of the year. I think we're currently number 3, so you guys need to get on there and vote. Get us to number 1. We can't be letting Florida beat us.
Any other questions or concerns? Council Member Rusing?
Thank you. I just have a question. There's behind the old grandstands, there's several old historic buildings, the Rock Building, the Mackin Building. Are there any plans to incorporate those buildings in the plans, or you have any thoughts?
They remain
Yeah.
intact.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Council Member Ken Telme.
Hi, Ron. This is a question for you. I think you're a contractor, aren't you?
There's 4 of us on the board that are contractors.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
I
So
am.
my question was, is the plan to, shut down immediately the day after the rodeo closes, start phase 1, and try to get it ready by June 28th the following year for the next rodeo cycle? I mean, you're not planning on not having the rodeo at 1 year or for 1 year? Or is it always going to be functioning?
the rodeo will always function. We'll do the phases in between.
Okay. The other question I had too was my son is involved as a vendor for the firefighters, and for years they've used the rodeo as their camp during big fires in the area. Is there going to be a continuing accommodation for the fire department when we need those areas? Because I know they house about 200 guys out there at some points.
I mean, other than during some huge event like the rodeo,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why that would end.
Yeah.
It's the same for the, like the equine rescue, if there's a fire.
Yeah.
We're one of the stations, obviously not during the rodeo, but during the rest of the season, we are there for taking in animals for.
Is that a intergovernmental agreement with them, or is that just gratis? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, we have an agreement with Triple E, Equine. Somebody help me. It's kind of the same thing. They rescue. They do rescues, and then there's another group that I'm not sure what their acronym is, but they.
No, I meant with the fire department, with Wildlands Fire. Do you guys have an agreement with them, or is that just an as-needed
Well, I think
basis?
they have the agreement with those companies or those groups.
Yeah.
That they go rescue them for the fire departments.
Oh, no, I
And
was
then-
talking about the guys that are actually fighting the fire, because they have, camped there in the past.
I don't know that one.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think they've been there since I've been here, so that's
Oh,
been 2
okay.
years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Last time they were on the football field at the high school.
Councilwoman can tell me, I can address that. So the last fire we had, we did Watson Lake for all of that, and the agreement happens like quickly. It sets up
Yeah.
quickly. But
Okay.
I think you're correct on that number. It was at least 200 that we had at Watson Lake. So we have facilities citywide to take care of the firefighters.
Okay.
And we're willing to do that, however we need to help support their efforts. And then it's great to have the rodeo grounds as a rescue or a respite, a place for the animals to go during those fires as well. So I think we've got that covered.
Yeah, good. I was also going to say I was on an economic development outlook committee several years ago, and that was the number one need for the city of Prescott was a facility, a convention center, because we were losing the ability to host many different types of conventions, and this facility looks like it's going to be, an opportunity for example, the American Bar Association to come up and put on their cowboy hats for a day and act like a cowboy and have a nice dinner at a rodeo facility. But anyway, I think it's a great idea. Thanks
Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah,
for the
we-
presentation.
We're starting to have a lot of we do have a lot of memorials for people that pass away.
Yeah.
And we're starting to have weddings there because we can seat 1,000 people if we need to.
Yeah.
So there's
Councilman
lots of
Shishka.
venues around Yavapai County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron, sounds like a great plan. Since this isn't Star Trek and we can't just beam this stuff down all at once, even if you met your financial goals, what would be the time frame to achieve all of these phases?
Well, that's a discussion we have a lot, but a lot of it depends on how fast we get the money. And those phases, we can't disrupt the whole world and shut down the rodeo for 2 years, which is probably what it would take if we had all the money and we were going to try to do it all at once. Probably on the short side, 5 years.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 to 7 on total,
Okay.
7 on on the high end, 7 to 10 for the total package. But I think we could pull phase 1 off in 3 years.
It sounds really good. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I want to say it was maybe a year and a half ago, rodeo folks came to us and talked to us about extending the lease that you've got there. And I think there were some folks on City Council who were amenable to the general idea, but we asked at the time for you to come up with a master plan of how that would be used. Everybody recognizes this as a great asset within the city, and it's been underutilized in many respects. We've talked up at the dais, and you've shared quite a bit about how this asset could be used a lot better. And so at any rate, at the time we asked, hey, could you come up with a master plan? This is far beyond what I ever dreamed you'd come to us with. This is terrific. This is really very, very well done. The concerns that I had about lease extension, we're not talking about that today, obviously, but have been allayed with this. You've got some great plans for how to use this city facility and how we can continue to partner with you. So I really, really appreciate the work that's been put into that. One of the pieces of feedback that we received, Mayor mentioned earlier, is the noise piece, and it sounds like you've been very thoughtful about how you might even mitigate that going forward in spite of having more events and more people, that there'd be potentially less noise as a result of that. So that's good for me to hear as well. And I know from being on the Tourist Advisory Council when you presented to us then, there's a lot of pieces beyond what you've been able to share today. One of them that came up as a concern that might have occurred to people is parking and how to get people into this facility and whatnot. And you've already got, I know, for this year, plans for shuttles. You've reached out to the school district and to some other entities regarding nearby parking facilities and buses and whatnot, taking people in and out. So I really appreciate that you're an organization that plans well regarding these things, and looking forward to continued partnership with you. Thank you very much for all that.
Well, very good. Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Jim, for your presentation. It's I know a lot of work and a lot of time went into just putting together the proposal and all the plans and things like that. So we certainly wish you well, and as your phases are developed and implemented, we'll be watching that very closely.
Excellent. Thank
We
you.
have one last subject, if we may. Obviously, in order to raise $40 million, we got to go to a lot of people that might want to make sure that we're going to be here for a long time, like with an extended lease. And so we'd like to propose a longer-term lease to you all. And we'd like to get that process started as soon as possible. How would you suggest we go about that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I would imagine that you would put together a proposed lease extension or a lease amendment, and then bring it back to our legal staff to review, and we'll see how that can be accommodated.
Okay, we'll do that right away, and then because we'd like to see if we can't get on the April council late next month if possible. So we'll do what we can on our side.
Very
We
good.
appreciate your support on your side.
Mayor, you do have one public comment card.
Okay,
Deborah Thalassitis.
Deb?
There she is.
This is a brilliant plan. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, it's in the wrong place. Let me address a couple of points you guys all brought up. Right now, the general plan that was adopted in 2015 doesn't have a whiff of this on it. It calls for this Gail Gardner Fair Hilltop area to be a transition planning area. It calls for a specific area study that the community would participate in. The community has had no participation in this. We are not considered a stakeholder, which is unfortunate, because maybe if we work together, we can resolve some of the issues that I'm going to bring up to you. One of the things that's occurring is the city's noise ordinance is insufficient. It is completely different from noise ordinances in any other city. There's no measurement of decibel limits. There's no enforcement. In addition, anything that has a special use permit, which the rodeo gets every year to hold the rodeo on the city's grounds, or any of their other events, they are exempt from your noise ordinance. So I appreciate the assurances that you're sensitive to the neighborhoods, but if you're not the executive director, the next person may not be that sensitive. And I can tell you, I hear the rodeo in my house with the window shut, trying to watch TV. I'm fine with that for 2 weeks. I'm happy that the revenue comes into the city. I'm really concerned about a large facility. So let's talk about the impact to the neighborhoods. There are at least 10 neighborhoods. I went through the map and counted them. Hillside, Country Club Park, Rocky Dale, Sherwood, Idlewild, Thumb Butte Meadows, Forest Village, Hassayampa Heritage, and Downers Trail. All of us use Gail Gardner to get to veterinarians, doctors, and groceries. Right now, I can sit when I'm heading, I guess it would be northbound, I can be back at Schlembley or however you say it, waiting for the traffic to get through the intersection at Fair. There is already a lot of traffic on that road. If you add the kind of facility that they're talking about, which is beautiful, and I would be proud to have it in the community, but if you add that without doing something with that road, it's going to be a mess for those of us, thousands of us, that have to use that road just to get to appointments. Now, the disaster piece of this is if there's a fire on the west side. Those of us in Hassayampa, out Thumb Butte Road, and still in city limits, and those outside the city limits, some parts of Country Club Park, we have two ways out. We go through downtown or we go Gail Gardner. So if there's a sudden, set and go, and there's a big event in the summer at this facility, how are we going to get out? I mean, we have to think about that. I've got my go bag. I think about what am I going to take and how am I going to get out? Because it's a reality. There are forest fires up in Thumb Butte, up in the forest frequently, and if one of them gets out of control, we're in trouble. The thing I want to say, and it's hard to be critical of this because it is a brilliant plan, and I do support the rodeo, and I think it does wonders for this community. I recognize it's on historic ground. But if this were a vacant piece of land and the rodeo wasn't involved, would you put this kind of facility in that spot? That's my question. And I know that I can have neighbors come out when we're all not kind of taken by surprise on this, and they're going to have some of the same concerns, and I'm sure you do too. Last, when you do look at the lease, there were several of us in 2021 that raised fair market value issues and gift of public funds issues, and I hope those get included in your discussion of the lease. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Deborah.
That's all, Mayor.
All right, well, thank you again for your presentation. We're excited to see how this will proceed, and obviously the next step is taking a look at your lease.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this study session is adjourned, and we'll reconvene with a voting session in
6 minutes.
5 or 7 minutes.